These will be my thoughts from my "What have you learned, Dorothy?" Reflections. I think my camera is at an angle. One of the things I have learned is that I need to get one of those little flex tripods. I have one for big cameras, but I need one for a small camera, like a smartphone. So, my mileage trip. What did I learn on my mileage trip? First of all, I learned not to book, if you're talking first class, normally if I'm booking economy, I try and book in the back of the plane. There's a few reasons for that. First, well, it does depend. One thing, if you were to consider an accident, is that the impact on the front of a plane has a lot higher G's than the back, so you're statistically, but I don't easily factor all that in because that's probably not gonna happen. But the back of the plane, why do I like the back of the plane? I don't know, because there's a lot of reasons why it's really not the best, aside from that one. It's not even the function of the video. I meant to talk about the first class is not to book the last aisle in first class, which would be like, for me it was section 4, row 4, and the problem was that they got in a smaller plane, so this would affect flights that you were going to, like Alaska or places where there's a chance the plane could come in smaller than booked or get substituted. And yeah, so it happened to me where they didn't have my row, it was gone. So instead of 4 rows of first class, they had 3 rows of first class, and I was in the 4th, so I got moved up. Luckily, they had the option to move me up, so I was able to not get booked or moved into economy. I mean, they would have refunded, I'm sure, but it wasn't what I wanted. I was okay with what I was paying, and I wanted to get what I was paying for. But I did lose my window seat. Now, going there didn't seem to matter to Alaska because it was dark outside, didn't really need a window. But coming home, it was daybreak, and we were flying over this wonderful Alaskan landscape, and it would have been cool to see that out the window, and just neat, even though normally the flight would have left an hour and a half earlier, so I actually wouldn't have gone. If everything got into plan, I wouldn't have gotten to see that. So man, 2 minutes on my first item, and I have like 8 of these. So anyway, the second thing is I probably could have bought more snacks because, again, expect the unexpected. With that layover, I considered buying bottled water for almost $3 a thing, or like the candy bars were like $3. Everything was so expensive up in Fairbanks, Alaska airport. I didn't actually buy anything, but at that point I was pretty much out of snack food, and it would have been nice to have a little something to eat. But I'm a trooper, I can survive without food for a little while. I often do. So I actually didn't buy anything, but I just realized that it's nice to have some emergency snacks just in case your flight gets delayed. And is that, yes, the third one, expect delays. So the one risk I had in this thing was that the flights, there were 3 flights with 2 layovers between them. I'm going there at least, and if any of those flights had had a long layover, a problem, I would have been screwed. So before the first flight, between the first and second, now between the second and third, it didn't really matter as much because at that point I was coming into Seattle for the couple days, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, booking a 45-minute or 1-hour layover can be risky. Although, I don't know, I also think that sometimes when a flight's delayed, it's just plain old delayed for like several hours almost. So I don't know if the delays are always going to be, I don't want to say that, but sometimes they are half-hour delays. So yeah. But then again, if I didn't book that in, then I'm sitting at an airport for 2 hours, even on a, without a delay, and that can be kind of boring too. So I guess there's a pro and con to that. I think the one thing to consider is that delays seem to happen more and more later on in the day, or the flights just get behind or whatever. So unforeseen problems. So if you're talking a late flight, then you can probably have a higher chance of a delay. Even though my flight started at 7 and then 10 p.m. and then 7 p.m., 10 p.m. and then 1 a.m. So, and I think that's still considered a later flight. Although if it's a 24-hour schedule, I don't know. Anyway, number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Despite it being first class, it was hard to sleep. Now, normally my flights are, on first class at least, are between here and Seattle, or Seattle and the Bay Area, 2 hours. I'll get a little bit of rest, it's okay. But this one I found, it was pretty tough. I just never could get, I didn't expect to get great sleep, but I don't know if I slept any better in first class than I would have in economy, just because the seats did not go that far back. They have a lot of room between the seats, lots of great room, but I didn't actually sleep very well at all. A lot of tiny little cat naps. That said, I was able to function the next day and do a normal work day. I was a bit tired, but I actually didn't nap at all and got through the entire day and finally got to sleep at 11 o'clock at night, where I did sleep pretty well. You know, at that point, I wasn't on a plane anymore. So it did work, but I sort of think if you have prescription, like doctor prescribed pills to take that help you sleep, that might be a good time to take them, because I did not, and I didn't sleep that well. So, you know, doctors prescribed, not anything crazy. What else? Avoid Uber and Lyft. It seems like currently I'm kind of wanting to avoid Uber and Lyft because in the past couple months I've had 2 experiences where it took a long time. They just could not find a driver. So, and it was for airports. But again, leaving home to get to the airport, that might be fine. But then when you get back home and you get back to the airport and you get back home, it was like, it took an hour last time. Not this time, but it took an hour last time for me to get or like Lyft. No, Uber was like $75 or something like that, and Uber was like $50. And that was just to get from Oakland. It's only 30 miles, but I went with Uber, and it took an hour to get to for them to come pick me up. It was like they had to go through several drivers. So at that point I realized that I think I want to pay a little more and not try and be cheap and save the money when it comes to getting to the airport, unless it's something where I mean, if you're gonna be gone for several weeks at a time, then yeah, because parking really gonna add up. But I think for probably 10 days or less, I think I would consider parking at the airport, you know, or someplace close by where you can take a shuttle, which I usually do I have to do for SMO. All right, yeah, I think Red Eye Rest was okay. But I was going to mention that, yeah, despite the fact that I had trouble sleeping, I did seem to get okay. Maybe 2 hours. That doesn't seem like a lot now that I think about it, because I think it probably be 2 hours of entire rest, 2 or 3 hours. That just does not seem like enough sleep. But again, I was able to function the day and work just fine, so maybe it is. But I couldn't do it for more than 1 day in a row. If I have a sleep deficit, I can get by. I can get away with it 1 day, but I would never be able to get away with it. At 2 days, your body just says, that's it, I'm done. I learned that I really can pack light. I had a backpack, and I was fine with the backpack. So it is possible to pack really light, and I'm just really learning. Well, I didn't bring a notebook. I didn't bring extra. I had to bring my work laptop, but I didn't bring any extra devices. All movies I can watch on my phone. I did bring. I was going to bring it out here, but a thick novel. I forget my thick novel. Yeah, I forgot it. Which I only read probably 30 minutes of. So even that, I just thought, I gotta learn not even to bring those thick novels, because I just think, oh, I'll read a lot. I don't end up reading a lot. So, yeah. And then I think even for first class, I think I'm really more into boarding last, especially with the problems we had this time where I had to actually board the same plane twice because I didn't get off. And I just think in the second time I just boarded last, even with first class. The only time I think it's important to board first is if you just definitely need that overhead space. And in first class, you're usually guaranteed that space, but sometimes people in economy, I've been one of those people too, I'm not being hypocritical, but they kind of like use that first class space if they're not caught. And I was caught too. It was like a foreign flight, international flight or something I was in. Where was I in? I was in Europe, and I thought, I'll just use that space because, and they're like, sir, this is first class only. Oh, sorry, my mistake. He was very snooty about it, but anyway, yeah. So if you don't need the overhead space, then there's no reason to board first in first class, because then you're sitting there just waiting all this extra time. So I kind of think, why not just wait to the very end and then board? Because it just seems real weird that we board the first and start to get these backups. Why don't we just board the people at the very back first and then bring it forward? I don't know, but I was guaranteed a seat. I had a seat. There's no reason to board. So I just think spending the time, being able to walk around, stretch my legs, and not be in a cramped seat even though it's, first class has a roomier seat, it's just nice to be not there any longer than I have to, especially when you're doing 3 flights. Yeah. And the last thing, dress warm is, I mean, even it's summer, technically, still summer, August, and Alaska, you think, oh, well, Alaska's not bad in the summer, but the flight was pretty cold. The third flight, or the second flight was pretty cold. That's when I got this thing out. And the third, yeah, even here, it's not as warm as I would have expected. It was kind of cold last night. So no matter, almost any time of year, I think if you're taking planes, you have something that's decently warm inside your backpack or whatever you pack, no matter what time of year. Yeah, if you're on a cold flight, it just sucks not to be able to put on something. So I was so glad I brought this. Yeah, I'm looking now because it's like, it says it's 75, but it's a bit of a wind coming, and it's cloudy, and it's the Pacific Northwest, so it's nice weather, and I could probably take this off now. But yeah, but all right, that's it. Did I keep it under 10 minutes? Nope, I did not. 11 minutes. Oh well. Things I learned. Yeah, I'll have to do this again, and it was a very successful trip. So, yay.